No sound, Chris.
Hey,
Yay!
hey,
They're back.
we're back. We're here. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Edutainment, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Yay!
And this is what it's like, see? My name is Chris Kerwin. I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada.
Hey.
Hey! I'm very pleased to welcome back my two regular co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening.
Hello, hello.
Hey. And my other co-host, Mr. Mike Powell from the Peel Observatory here in St. John. Mike.
Evening.
And we'd like to welcome all of you out there tonight in YouTube and Facebook land, and all of you who have been joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you for your support. So, on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, now just in 8 days, we get to experience one of the most magical celestial events of all. I'll say 8 days, but it's kind of like 7 days, 12 hours, 42 minutes, whatever. The total solar eclipse of April the 8th. Plans are being made all along the path of totality to make the event as special as possible. Now, one such event involves launching a balloon equipped with cameras to about 100,000 feet to offer views of the eclipse, rain or shine. And let me get to my page 2 of my notes here. There. Okay. Now, this amazing project is the result of many volunteers, and one of those are on the Project Oversight and Governance Committee, Mr. Chris Doherty, who joins us tonight to talk about all the special things about this project. Mr. Doherty, welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
And we're also going to have a Vinyl Bud. We'll be back with us with another fine binocular target to enjoy tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah. Paul,
We got something anyway.
Paul's going to present another interesting Rosanna's fun fact. I'm going to have a little bit of an update on the current kids contest going on. And so sit back and grab your favorite beverage and enjoy the show with us. And as always, if you have any questions, please post them here on YouTube and Facebook. So let's get started then with a discussion around this most magical of all celestial events. In my opinion, the most magical of all celestial events happening soon. And this unique project being brought to us through the help of Mr. Doherty here. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support from all three of you guys and having me on today. It's been great. So I know that David Hunter appeared a few months back before Christmas and spoke to your audience. And then we had Stephen Damward appear about a month ago as well and talk about the communication system that Stephen has built. So thanks for giving us one more opportunity. We're T-minus 8 days at this point. So the anxiety level's a little high, but we're super excited and we expect to put on a really good show for everybody.
Awesome. So
Fingers crossed.
tell us how you get started in all this.
Sure. So I live in Ottawa. I'm I'm a relative of David Hunter's. So I knew that he was working on this project for probably about the past 5 years now already, when he first moved home to Florenceville, where he grew up. So my career was in government, but I retired in 2022. And that's when I started paying a little bit more attention to David's project and what he was working on. He retired shortly before I did, so I was kind of using him as kind of a mentor of how he got through retirement and what things he did to fill his time with. So 2022, I retired from 30 years of federal public service. And then I started asking David more about this project that he was working on, and of course, I immediately jumped to, what type of regulatory approvals do you have for this project? You're flying this balloon up 100,000 feet in the air with this big payload attached to it. Who do you have approvals from? And he kind of said that, he told me, he said, people do this all the time. People are launching balloons all over North America for various reasons, to measure weather systems and to track weather patterns. But I just kind of thought in the back of my mind that I'm pretty sure you need approval. So basically, he had no regulatory approvals at that point in time. So I thought, well, here's one way I can help him out. Just work on his regulatory approvals. I can speak the same language as government bureaucrats. So I said, let me look into it. So I contacted Transport Canada. Actually, just a bit of internet research, and I was able to find out within about 30 minutes that yes, there is a policy that regulates, depending on how big your balloon is and how heavy your payload is, that you need ministerial approval from Transport Canada. So we were a bit taken back at that. I don't think that was good news for David, thinking that we'd have to seek regulatory approval, but we just said, well, let's not panic at this point. Let's find out what that process is like, getting the Minister of Transport Canada's approval for this. So I spent probably about 3 to 6 months just dealing with the officials at Transport Canada, reviewing their policy with them, trying to prove that David's project meets all of their policy requirements. We didn't meet several of them, and so that gave us something to work with. Where do we need to improve on? But essentially, due to the size of the balloon that we require to lift our payload, which is fairly heavy, we need a 2,000-gram balloon. And so what we need to be able to prove to Transport Canada, it all boils down to two things. Number one, that it's in the public's interest, what you're doing, which we can do very easily. We were able to prove and satisfy this is in the public interest. The eclipse is coming, passing totality right over Western New Brunswick. So great public interest in this. And then the second requirement is that your operations are safe and that it'll be safe for the public. So that's when a lot of different factors that came into play for our project, such as requiring an aircraft grade transponder on our payload so that NavCan and air traffic control and all the pilots can have visibility of where our payload is. We needed insurance, which we didn't have at that time. So we had to find, who deals with insurance in the aviation industry and track that down as well. And then just be able to provide all the documentation that Transport Canada required to get their official sign off. Now, in the midst of doing that, so that took David and I a good 3 or 4 months, just back and forth, regular conference calls with Transport Canada, providing draft documents to demonstrate how we were going to be safe and that our operations were well thought out and that we had the appropriate volunteers and we had pilots that were working with us. In the midst of all this, international news broke with these Chinese balloons that were flying over the US. And we still at that point did not have approval for our project. So I thought, it's over. Like,
Yeah.
we're done here now. Forget about it. So I called Transport Canada the following week and I said, look, I assume this is all off now. Like there's no chance we're going to get approved. And we were so close to finishing that process. And they actually had a really great reaction. I mean, the Transport Canada guys have been fantastic. They just said, on the contrary, you've done everything that we want somebody to do. You've worked with us. You've been very transparent. You've worked on the areas that we think you need to refine your approach. You provided us with all the documentation that we asked you to do. You're a perfect textbook case for us to be able to promote and support. So
Nice,
we were
nice.
really, really blown away by that reaction. And then sure enough, we did get ministerial approval just in time for our the first test flight that we did in April 2023. The second thing that came up at the very last minute was the proximity of the airspace that Florenceville, New Brunswick is in is so close to the border with Maine, US. And so very late in the game, after getting our ministerial approval from Transport Canada, you then have to develop a bilateral agreement with NAVCAN, who will then tell you how to work with air traffic control, how to file your NOTAM requirements for every flight, and to work with them. And then in the midst of looking into that, that's when NAVCAN realized that airspace is actually controlled by Boston Air Traffic Control under the FAA. And so again, I thought, okay, this is really dead in the water at this point in time. There's no way we're going to get at the last minute get FAA approval on our flights. But that was actually pretty easy to do. Again, they were willing to work with us, and we had all of our documentation, and we were able to prove that this was well thought out and well planned, and that we had, a lot of safety protocols in place and a lot of volunteers. And the FAA approved us as well, which was great news because originally we were expecting to monitor the wind patterns, and if there was any risk of us going into Maine, that we would abort the flight and we wouldn't proceed with our flight. But the FAA approved us, and on one of our test flights, the one in June, we actually did fly into Maine and landed in Maine and recovered our payload there. So that, in essence, is how I started. Originally, my scope was regulatory approvals. I was just going to work on that for a couple of months, help David sort through, deal with Transport Canada and the federal officials, and get him his approvals that he needed. In the course of doing that, of course, I became very, very interested in the project. It is a really neat concept and project that he has poured, a good portion of his life into. And it was really apparent to me that they were kind of lacking some project management expertise, which is what I did a lot when I was working for government. So it was kind of hard for me to walk away and say, well, here's your ministerial approval. You're good to go. You can go to your flights. Good luck. My name was already on it. I had been dealing with the project with Transport Canada, so they kind of viewed me as one of the project officials. So I couldn't really step away. And I felt that David and his engineering team could really use my organizational skill sets as well. So I just stayed on, kind of helped chair his weekly meetings with the engineering and science team, develop timelines, just add some project management expertise. Like they have the technical knowledge, plenty of that. That was not lacking. It was more, how are you ensuring that you're ready to fly by April 8th? How are you ensuring that you're getting everything done? What's the to-do list? What hasn't been dealt with? So that's kind of the angle that I've been helping work with. And I would say the past 3 months has really turned more to event planning is what I'm doing. So working with the town officials, getting the viewing centers ready, which the excitement has really built over the past 3 months on the ground. Dealing with the media, and dealing with, emergency management in Florenceville, just making sure that we have all the protocols in place and that we're ready to have a safe experience on April 8th.
So, Chris, question for you. How, like I know like all the news coverage that's been happening, David, of course, is getting the majority of that, but I know the team is a lot larger than that.
Yes.
So, could you just give us an idea, like how widespread this team of people is?
Yeah, so the core team, like the science and engineering team, so they're the brain trust behind all of this. How are we going to fly, and how are we going to communicate and get the images back to Earth? That is a team of 7 people. including me. And so they're retired engineers from across Canada. One from Fredericton, Tom Sisk, who works with the University of New Brunswick. He has a close association with them. We have Dr. Pluis from Victoria, BC. He's also very actively engaged with. David he was a mentor for David during his employment career. We have Ken Strauss, who is a retired engineer in the Greater Toronto area, who is a fantastic machinist and is able to build whatever we need built, any of the mechanical parts on the payload. We have Stephen Downward, who's probably the youngest person that we have on our team, and he appeared on your podcast about a month ago, whose specialty is in communication software and systems. So that's been his area of expertise. We have Lewis Cobb from the Fredericton area as well, a retired engineer who knew a lot of people and pulled in a lot of volunteers for us. So the core team is really that engineering and science team under David's leadership. And then in addition to that, like as I was dealing with Transport Canada and I was trying to build what they call the safety case to prove to Transport Canada, I had to come up with all of the volunteers who would fill various roles. So that's a much broader group. That's about 30. There are about 30 volunteers, and you're going to meet them all next weekend. So most of them are local people. A lot of them have an association with David throughout his life because he grew up there and everybody likes him and they want to help him out with whatever he needs. And they talk to him when he's at the grocery store or at the bank or wherever they run into him. They hear about his project and they want to help out, which is great. So we've picked up a lot of people along the way, and they're pouring their heart into it, and they really want to see this be a big success. So probably about 30, 35 people in total that are working on it. But you're right, David has been the main face, and it should be. I mean, his main vision at the beginning was to make Florenceville, Bristol a destination, get the public interested in this, but also possibly bring in visitors from anywhere to visit this area of New Brunswick. And I think we've succeeded in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, we've got a quick question from somebody asking that does totality affect any flight routines, not for the balloon, but aviation flight routines? If I don't see where it would.
I don't think so. So as I mentioned, once we had our agreement with Transport Canada, then we were turned over to NavCan and dealing with air traffic control, both from Boston and from Moncton, controlling our airspace. So, and we have a pilot who is on our volunteer team too. He's the pilot for McCain Foods.
Right on.
And so, that was essential in getting approval from Transport Canada, a licensed commercial pilot as one of the volunteers. And he is who communicates with air traffic control for us.
Okay.
So anyway, my point being, through each of our test flights, our relationship with air traffic control has gotten stronger and better all along, to the point where they have now bought into this is their project too. And they feel ownership. They are sending a manager from Moncton who is going to be on site in Florenceville just to help us out on the day. Now, we've dealt with this guy all along, so I feel like I already know him. I mean, it hasn't been smooth sailing all along. I mean, early on, we were trying to mimic the conditions of Eclipse. So we always wanted to launch at 3:30 in the afternoon so that our flight would reach its maximum altitude at 4:30 in the afternoon. And Moncton didn't like that because that's prime air travel time for them. There's a lot of transatlantic flights coming in, so they wanted us to launch early in the morning when it wasn't a nuisance for them that they had to work around. But we've built a really good relationship with them. They're sending a manager down to be on the ground with us to help us with the communications with air traffic control. And essentially what they've done is they have to bring in a lot more staff on Eclipse Day. So to answer the person's question that submitted it, there's still a lot of traffic happening right at that time. And what air traffic control is doing is they're going to put pauses and divert some of the traffic around our airspace, depending on exactly where we're going to be flying. So they put what they call holds on airplanes that need to travel through that space until we've passed through the 30,000 feet barrier, both up and down. And then they'll allow their traffic to go. So no, the air traffic is not stopping at all. In fact, some airlines are using this as a marketing tool to say, come fly and see the eclipse while you're in the air.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask one other thing is for the people who want to go to view this at, say, in Florenceville, and of course there's some other locations as well. Are they kind of, and I know I shouldn't use the word sold out, but are they full already, or is there still room for people to come?
So it's free. And so I think I don't think they have any way of knowing how many people are coming, but I expect that there's lots of room. I mean, these are big arenas. The Florenceville Arena can fit a lot of people. I went and viewed it last summer. So I don't think that's going to be a problem, but there's so many locations that are pretty close in proximity that I don't think it's going to be an issue. So if you know the area, which I know you guys do, but Heartland is not that far away. So at the Heartland High School, they're going to have a viewing center. So the people in Heartland, there's no need for them to travel into Florenceville. First of all, traffic is a big concern that we're worried about. So if all the Heartland people can stay and go view the images directly in the Heartland school, and they're planning lots of events to go along with it, right? They're calling it, they've even marketed it as Eclipse of the Heartland. And they're going to have vendors, and they're going to do a little fair, and then people can go inside to the high school and watch the images there. So that's one example. Woodstock, same thing. It's not that far away from Florenceville, bigger municipality than Florenceville, but they have the McCain Theater there with their high school too. Beautiful viewing center that can fit a lot of people that can go in and watch that. So those people don't need to come into Florenceville. And then as you go through that list, same with Perth Andover, Plaster Rock, which is quite a distance away. All these different locations all have their own viewing centers. So those people don't need to travel into Florenceville. So it's really hard to predict how many tourists are coming into the region and where are they going. You know, like the biggest hotel in the area is in Woodstock. I think it's a Best Western. They've been sold out for since last summer. I think they told us they were already sold out for Eclipse Day. So that gives you a sense that a lot of tourists are going into Woodstock, but they're probably going to stay there. They're not going to come into Florenceville to go to the arena there and watch it. Now they may need to come later that night to see Chris Hadfield. And Florenceville, similar to Heartland and Woodstock and all these other areas, there's a lot going on. It's not just our launching and viewing of our images. The Potato World Museum is going to be open. So McCain's owns or operates this museum called Potato World. And they are planning, again, a type of fair environment. There'll be free admission to the museum. They're giving away free French fries, which is always a big, huge draw for people. And they are going to have a number of vendors. So I was reading recently on a Facebook site that a vendor is coming up from Fredericton to have a display out in their parking lot. So that's very close to where we're launching at the Amsterdam Inn. It's right next door. So people will be able to, and they are now going to be setting up viewing of our images as well in Potato World. So while you're in the museum, you could even see the images there rather than go to the arena. So there's lots of opportunity for people to take part in the events at various facilities. So it's on our website, a listing and the addresses of all the sites that'll be viewing it.
Okay, I think Mike was going to bring up the website for people to have a quick look.
Yeah, I
at.
can
Yeah.
throw this up here. Should be coming up. You see, that's
Yeah.
the one there.
Yeah.
Got the right spot. And then you can see the list of places, Florenceville, Bristol, Woodstock, Heartland, Perth Andover, Plaster Rock, and Grand Falls.
Yeah. Grand Falls came on really late, but they really wanted to do something for the Eclipse, and we were a good fit for them. So they're going to set it up in their high school, and they're going to display the images there. The other place that's going to display our images that we're not listing because it's in the US is in Holton, Maine. So Holton, Maine has been planning for this eclipse for, I think, 6 years. They've been very, very organized, and they're expecting upwards of 60,000 visitors to go to Holton, Maine.
Now, you had also mentioned that you're going to have a YouTube live link that people can go to. Here on your website, it shows that. And if I click on the live link, it takes us right to that Eclipse up close. And you would just, like you said, come over to the live tab and click the live tab, and people will be able to watch live online the whole balloon.
Yep. Thanks for showing that, Mike. Yep. It's as simple as that. That's where it's going to be. Eclipse up close. Just go to our website like Mike did and click on the link. It's the easiest way for you to get there.
Yeah, you can't miss it. It's live on YouTube right here. So And it is breaking news. It's going to be an awesome event. It really, really is. So I'll have to pop that down. I'm so looking forward to it. I know that.
Well, we're really grateful that you guys are coming up, sorry, and you're going to be facilitating at our main site at the Florenceville Arena right before Chris Hadfield. So you're like the warm-up act. I mean,
I pity
I
Chris.
thought that was James Mullins. I thought that was Mr. Mullins was going to be a warm-up act.
he is. You're the warm-up. You're the warm-up act to the comedian.
Warm-up act.
People may be leaving. I guess. I don't know.
Hey, whoever controls the mic controls the.
There you go. Yeah. And we are broadcasting next week from Florenceville too. So that's our first on the road live from Florenceville.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, talk about the events. I mean, we should put that on our website. I'll do that later. That's another event for people to participate in that you guys are, you're going to be staying there in Florenceville and you're going to do your podcast on Sunday night. Then they get to see you Monday afternoon in advance of going to Chris Hadfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be people herding everyone outside to look at the eclipse.
So how you guys have been probably looking at the weather more than anybody else. How's it looking for you guys so far?
Yeah, so it depends what website you look at, to be honest with you. So David has cautioned me all along. I mean, he's very, very knowledgeable about weather systems and wind patterns. And he's really warned me anything, and honestly, every test. So we've done 4 test flights so far. So we've done this, and we panic 7 days out when we have to file our first notification with air traffic control, and we panic about the wind pattern and what the weather looks like for that day. And then we're trying to plot out, well, where do we have to travel to recover our payload? And we're plotting the best routes to take in New Brunswick and into Maine to figure out where, well, we know now every single day leading up to that final day, the weather changes, and where it will land will change. And what the weather forecast is, it will change. So right now I took a look at 3 or 4 weather forecasts websites just before the call, and I think it looks pretty good. Largely sunny, maybe some clouds, not much chance of precipitation, winds coming from the northwest, moderate winds, 10 to 15 kilometers an hour, which is perfectly fine for us. So it all looks pretty positive, but David will point out, depends what website you're looking at, and it's too far in advance. So that's the really weird thing, is that we have to file our first notification tomorrow, 7 days out, T-7. We have to file with air traffic control, telling them what path we're taking, everything about it. Well, we know it's going to change by the next day. By Tuesday morning, it's going to be different. So it's a bit difficult for us to just kind of contain our excitement and just say, let's just wait. Things will change. And we've had good luck so far on all of our test flights. One day it was supposed to be total rain out, just raining all day. And right before launch, it cleared up and we had great sun and we had a great flight. So
awesome.
Somebody did mention, I feel like this eclipse is like the beginning of a new era or something. Anyone else feeling that? Something that's feeling it's a pretty special event. It's the biggest thing, that's happened here in a long time as far as the celestial event goes. And I'm sure the 2017 eclipse was, nice. We got a piece of it, 2021, but this is the real baby. This is the real thing here. And I've heard it's common for people to break out in emotion, like very, very powerfully. People, have been broken out crying and just overwhelmed by the whole idea of these 2 celestial bodies passing in front of each other. And for us to be right in the neck of it right here, it's amazing. I can't wait. I'm like a kid. I can't even sleep. The next week for me is gonna be crazy. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning, just kind of wandering around. It's just, I'm like a kid at Christmas time, and I'm sure a lot of people are feeling the same thing. It's really, really exciting right now. And
so you're an astronomy guy, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the general public, if you grew up in Florenceville and you lived in Florenceville, if it weren't for this project and all the events that were being planned, you'd probably be hearing about it. You'd probably hear about totality, but there'd be no way for you to embrace it and take part in it. So add on to that not only are they in the path of totality and we'll get to witness and experience it, but that we're bringing all of this attention to it, and that we're going to have imagery that they can see what's and if it's cloudy, like Great. Good on Niagara Falls. You've attracted 1 million people to show up there on April 8th. That's great. I wouldn't want to be stuck in traffic heading there, but what if it's cloudy and you've got 1 million people wandering around and they can't see anything, or it's pouring rain out? So maybe they'll all flip over to our YouTube site and watch.
There you go. That's the thing. Yeah, one time Eastern Canada has it over Central Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just looking for any other comments, questions here. Dan says, hi guys, if you need me to ride that balloon, I will for you, no problem. Guaranteed to see the eclipse, he says. Good for you. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. We'll keep that in mind. Heard the Discovery Center out of Halifax is bringing their inflatable planetarium to Potato World, plus Swamp Bear will be doing a cool carving. There you go.
Thanks for bringing that up. The planetarium apparently is really cool. So the McCain's guy is super excited about scheduling that and having that on the grounds at Potato World. Yeah, it's going to be really neat to see.
Explore NB team is coming, I guess, with some freebies and games. So sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Indigenous Solar Eclipse event happening too. Remember this solar happening on unceded holistic territory. Yes, sir. And
Yeah, it's nice. You know what? This is an event that I think is so timely because we needed this as the human society to actually start bringing people together for one thing that we all have a common focus on. That's positive. So I think this is a really good thing for
reminds me of the moon landing days.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. Paul, it's really interesting because over the past 3 weeks, the amount of media attention that our project has gotten has just spiked, like up to 3 calls a day from various media outlets. And we're anticipating about 15 different media outlets that are going to be on the ground in Florenceville. So CBC is going to do their morning show, literally from the lobby of the Amsterdam Inn, their morning show. But my point is, like, you can see it yourself. It's in the paper every day. It's on the news every day. But what more can journalists write about? The eclipse is coming. Make sure you have your glasses, protect your eyes. That's about all they can write. But all of a sudden they stumble across this unique project that has kind of a human interest element to it. And the whole town is getting behind and the whole region is getting behind. And I sense that the journalists find it really cool and unique and interesting. And so they're doing deep dives on it and repeated coverage about it.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
and it is really cool and unique. I mean, that's the best part about it.
We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to coming up to see you on Sunday evening and running our program from there. And we can't wait till that Monday. It's just fingers crossed for the good weather and for everything to happen as we're hoping it's going to happen. But we know it will. It's going to be fantastic.
good.
Thank you very much for joining us, Chris. It's been a pleasure. And it's been a pleasure being able to focus on your project as well. So yeah, your YouTube channel again is Eclipse. Let's say that one more time.
At Eclipse Up Close.
Eclipse
Up Close. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you from us to you guys for extending the
Yes.
show.
The invitation.
Definitely,
For us to be part of this because
We're very honored to be part of it. For
yeah,
sure.
it's just unbelievable. I mean, the word on the street now, everybody you pass by is, where are you going for the eclipse?
Yeah, there you go.
And
That's what
automatic, yeah. Yeah.
So I know several of you are members of RASC MB too. So David had been dealing with RASC, well, he's a member too, for quite a while. But when we saw the CBC article about you three and having the asteroid named after you, I thought, okay, this is too close of a connection here. We need to get them involved somehow.
Well, we're so glad you reached out to us. That's
Yeah,
we're really pleased, really honored. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Okay, we're going to move on from there to Vinyl Bud. We're going to keep watching for questions. If I see any questions come up, let me know, and we can tap back in again too. So how about a Vinyl Bud, Mike?
Oh, bud. The right screen here. Alrighty. Binocular target of the week. This week by Bino Bud is Carolyn's Rose. Everybody says, what's Carolyn's Rose? It's a pretty object to look at in binoculars, let me tell you that. So NGC 7789, also known as Caroline's Rose, or the White Rose Cluster, is an open cluster in Cassiopeia that was discovered by Carolyn Herschel in 1783. Her brother William Herschel included it in his catalog as HV130. This cluster, also known as the White Rose cluster or Carolyn's Rose cluster, because when you look at it visually, it loops of stars and dark lines look like the swirling patterns of a rose when seen from above. Where will I find it in the sky? Well, if you were to go out tonight and it's a nice clear night at 10 o'clock, orient yourself at 325 degrees north-northwest, look up, you'll see the W or sideways W of Cassiopeia. You look down here to the longest side of the W, the bright star at the end, find that and come straight down and you're going to run into Carolyn's Rose. Here's a close-up version. You want that long side of the W, come down and look at that. She's right here. You can't miss it. It's a nice bright object. What will it look like? Well, it won't quite look like this because it's a beautiful photograph of it. But look at the stars in this cluster. It's a deep, tight cluster, and you'll be able to pick it out from the background. In 10 by 50 binoculars, it's a nice target. It stands up nice in the back against the background. You'll notice it when you see it. And it does kind of look like a rose the more you look at it. Compared to the full moon, it's got to be at least, 1.5 full moons in size. So it's an easy target to find, easy to follow. And here it comes. What's fast, loud, and crunchy? A rocket chip. And that's binocular target of the week by I Know Bud.
Oh, terrible. They keep getting worse, Mike, every week.
Oh, man, a rocket chip.
It's
I had a couple of questions for you, Chris, if you don't mind coming back on for a minute. You still there? Maybe he is. You might even mute it and might get a coffee.
went for a coffee, yeah.
Bring him back, yeah. We'll bring him back a little later. All right, how about Rosanna's fun fact then maybe next?
All right, let me just find out where my stuff is here. I'm gonna do one thing before I do that though. I don't have any sound, but just in case. Stereo, okay. And that should be this one. No, not that one.
Dun, 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 dun. Whoa, whoa.
And can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
All right.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Welcome back, Rosanna, for another wonderful fun fact here on this wonderful Easter weekend. And of course, like everything else that Rosanna does, it is timely, so let's get right into it. Rosanna writes, "Hi, Paul. Easter has snuck up on us earlier this year. Our lovely moon that is causing such excitement for April the 8th, just one second, I want to get that picture up. There we go. That is excitement for April the 8th is also determining factor for when Easter gets placed on the calendar each year. So one might wonder for a moment if there could ever be an eclipse on Easter, but you'll only wonder for a fraction of a second. Easter is determined by the first full paschal moon after the ecclesiastical equinox, which since 325 CE has arbitrarily been decided to be always March the 21st. So since an eclipse can only happen in the new moon phase, and a new moon can never happen on Easter, there you have it, an eclipse that can never happen on Easter either. In spite of many an internet rabbit hole adventure, there was no distinct way for me to connect the Easter Bunny to an eclipse. However, connecting a rabbit to a space-launched many a tab to stay open on the laptop. So, has there ever been a rabbit in space? Why, yes. Marfucia. There was once a bunny called Marfucia, which means Little Martha. In 1959, she was launched on a Russian R-2A rocket, becoming the first bunny to go to space. She went into space with her two compatriots, Brave and Snowflake. Now, Paul, I saved you from having to say their Russian names. Thank you, Rosanna. They were wicked. That dog on the right looks a little worse for the wear. Perhaps the pic was taken on the return from space. There is also the moon rabbit with a. Oh, I didn't get to show you those dogs again. There we go. So there is also the moon rabbit, a mythical figure in East Asian and Indigenous American folklore based on the pareidotic interpretations that identify the dark markings on the near side of the moon as a rabbit or a hare. It is drawn in a variety of ways, and here is one perfect for this weekend. I think we've all seen that one.
Mm.
And yet, here's another one. In Mayan hieroglyphics, hieroglyphics and inscriptions, a rabbit frequently is shown with the moon goddess. And there is, right there, there's the rabbit, and there's the moon goddess. There are many more myths and legends connecting the moon and rabbits, and let's not forget the constellation Lepus. Nor, oh, I should show you that. There you go. Does that not look like a rabbit? Nor the perhaps lesser known, very distinct cousin of Lepus, also called galactic dust bunnies, otherwise known as Bach globules. Right there. That's pretty nice. And you can see the ears and the rest of the nose, and there's the bunny. These opaque dark knots of gas and dust called Bach globules, I should say, are named after astronomer Bart Bach, who proposed their existence in the 1940s. They are absorbing light in the center of the nearby star-forming region known as NGC 281, located nearly 9,500 light years away in the direction of the constellation Cassiopeia. Now, excuse me, some people even seen a rabbit in our Milky Way from the Twitter post years ago. I suppose, there you go. To me, that's a bit of a reach, but it works to help one hop their way among the stars. Then a bunny it is. This past January, the Highlands Astronomy Club of the UK started their newsletter with rabbits, 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 which is superstition found in Britain and North America, wherein a person repeats the word rabbits aloud 3 times upon walking on the first day of the month to ensure good luck for the rest of it. I always do this, and yes, it works. Well then, from our fellow astronomers in the UK, we have our strategy for Monday, April Fool's Day. Upon waking, we all must say aloud, rabbits, rabbits, rabbits. And that will bring good luck for the eclipse on the 8th. Or we may just feel a little foolish. Happy Easter, everybody.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Happy Easter. Oh, happy Easter. Really? We had to go there.
Our hopping will never be the same.
Star hopping.
Wow.
Thank you, Rosanna. Another interesting one. Wow, yeah. Mike, you're rubbing off. Well, both of you are, yes. Okay, take a few minutes here to drop to a couple of photos. I've only got a few photos here, and I can see that I'm going to have to start enticing people to send in photos. I know what it is. So we are going to entice people to send in photos. Everyone who sends in the photo for next week will get entered into a draw to win this book, the 2024 Night Sky Almanac by Nicole Mortellaro.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to offer that surprise, and that is a great book because
That's an excellent book.
Yeah, it has months of the year all laid out and what you can see in the sky in those particular months and all kinds of information about the planets and things. So 2024 Night Sky Almanac by Nicole Mortellaro. Everybody, we entered into the draw, and I will make the draw next week.
Just sent you a photo.
What kind of photo?
Yeah, that's it.
Ah,
Yeah.
wabbits, wabbits, wabbits.
Rabbits.
Okay, let's get to a few photos that I have tonight. Just give me a second, I'll share my screen. Talk amongst yourselves like normal. Over here, okay. And I'm going to start out with a couple from, I'm going to share screen, share this one, 3, screen 3.
Oh, by the way, someone was asking Chris, where can they buy Eclipse glasses? I'm not going to put that out there because there's just too many places, but what I am going to say is you don't necessarily, if you got 5 in the family, you know, if you don't have 5 pairs of glasses, that's okay. You just kind of take turns and you can pass them around a little bit. So don't panic if not everybody has them, because you don't all have to look up at the sky at the same time. So
Yeah, I mean, it takes 2 hours for the event to take place, so you've got lots of time
yeah,
to share glasses and move them around, yeah. And don't forget, there's also indirect ways to look at the eclipse too, not just, you don't have to look at it directly, right? So,
yeah.
okay, so we got these ones from Duckman Arsenal sent these in. Moon pics, he said, from March the 25th. Big bright moon there,
Wow.
and a big loop around her too. Big
Yeah.
moon.
Sure.
Awesome, thanks, Duckman. And we're gonna move on from them to Bridget Green's pictures here. She said, "Hi, Chris. While in the Yukon this past fall, I was determined to see the aurora. Every day would be sunny and clear skies, yet every night at sunset the clouds would roll on in. I managed to see these in the middle of the night on 2 occasions, and although nothing too impressive, I was so happy to see them, especially in the Yukon. So good for you, Bridget. Yeah, it makes an awful there. Look at that Pleiades sitting there. Nice. So it always makes a difference to see them. And I mean, we're at the point right now when we have a cycle, part of the solar cycle, that we should be getting more activity too. So hold on, because it's coming. And finally gonna end up with this one from Jennifer Day LG. I don't know why I'm showing 2 pictures there. It did it again on me. Her picture's on the right hand side. Let me see if I can open that differently. 1 second here. Go back. I'm just gonna stop sharing for a second. Why it does that. Bear with me. So I can bring it up individually. No, doing it again. Not sure why it likes to do that. Anyway, I'm going to draw your attention to the left-hand side of the screen. I guess for some reason it wants to share both screens.
Which screen do you want us to look at, Chris?
It's this one here. So, anyway, on the left-hand side, they're from Jennifer Day LG. And I'm going to bring up the notes here. She's, "Hi Chris, finally some clear skies last evening and went out with the C-Star 50 to play. I tried imaging the flaming star nebula and attached is my result of around 90 minutes integration time. I still have a lot to learn with the processing of these images, but I don't know if I went too far with this one or not, but it's all great fun. I think you did okay."
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
great.
No, those machines do well.
They do. Very well done. Thank you for those photos. And I wanted this, the other reason why I was bringing this up, I guess, was to share that picture there. So the contest that we had going on, I said it was supposed to be claimed by April 13th. Yeah, so I have extended the contest. Let me get that out now. The contest was supposed to end up on Friday, this past Friday, but I've extended it for an extra week because there are a lot of kids that were out for a couple of days there through the Easter break, and I want to be sure that I get as many entries as I can possibly get, which we're up there in a good number of entries right now. So the idea is to draw a picture of what you think the eclipse might look like or how you will be celebrating it. Have a parent take a picture of your drawing and submit it to astronomybythebay@gmail.com. The 2 categories for entries are from 6 to 10-year-olds and 11 to 14-year-olds. And please provide the child's first name and age so that they can be placed in the proper category. The prizes awarded are going to be done through random draws. There's no judging on any of them. I never judge any of my contests. The contest closes on Friday, April 5th at midnight, and the draws will take place next Saturday, April 6th at 6 p.m. on Facebook. All prizes must be picked up locally here and claimed by the 13th of April, or otherwise they go back into the draw for the next contest. So that's what we're looking at. Some of the prizes I get coming up is this guy right here. This is a National Geographic Sky Assist 102 refractor telescope, brand new telescope. It's similar to the Explorer scientific model, and it's a great learning telescope, good beginner telescope. Actually, it's a good intermediate telescope as well. It's a nice refractor telescope, comes with a couple of nice eyepieces and some nice accessories. So that's going to be my first prize, or grand prize, for the 11 to 14-year-olds. And we've got a couple of lunar breccias here, for piece that want to have a piece of the moon. Here you go. These are being donated by Fireball Meteorites, and Charlie would like to thank him for this contribution. And I've also got a number of prizes, probably about 20 now, I think, There's space puzzles and books and all kinds of things that are going to be into the 6 to 10-year-old category. So there are some other prizes coming along. So just get your entries in as soon as possible. And if I haven't responded to your entries that have been coming in through gmail.com, I've got a few things on the go, so I'm trying to get to all of them, but I am seeing them all arrive and I'm collecting them as they come. So we'll be, and I'm posting them up as my cover photo on my Facebook page too, on a regular basis. So that's that. Is Chris back yet, I wonder? Is he still away?
Oh, there he is.
Yes, hey, he's back.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Just had a couple of questions here for Josh asked, what is Chris Doherty's thoughts on, or Doherty's thoughts on what the eclipse represents? That's kind of a deep question.
Philosophy time.
Oh boy. What does it represent? You know, for me, I'm speaking, you know, not from in astronomy terms, just in terms
Just for
of
yourself. Yeah.
yeah. So we really wanted to get the local public in Florenceville and Western New Brunswick excited about the eclipse. And you know, when we look at things, even if there's horrible weather on the day and we aren't able to launch our balloon, we've already succeeded in doing that. So we know that the local public is very engaged. Lots of people are researching it. There's probably kids out there, much like David, who are now very interested in astronomy, just because of being exposed to it. So for me, it's been that.
Awesome. Yeah. I did have one question. How long will the balloon be up before and after the total eclipse? I'm not sure if we answered that yet or not, but.
Nope, it's a good question. So David and I talked about that because we plan to launch at 3:30 because totality starts at 4:32 and we want to be at our altitude not before totality, because when we reach 100,000 feet, our balloon bursts and then our payload starts plummeting back down to Earth. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen, that we don't reach altitude until totality is finished, so we can document the entire totality. So we're saying 3:30, but based on the winds, we may have to adjust that by plus or minus 15 minutes. We're not sure just yet. So our total flight time is probably about an hour and a half in total.
So you mentioned the size of the balloon from ground to up, and the size difference was?
I have the stats here. I could just
So
pull it
from
up
7
for you.
feet to about 35 feet, I think is what they said.
Was it 7 feet to 35 feet? Wow.
Yeah, when we fill it on the ground, it's about 7 feet in diameter, and it looks unmanageable at that point. So I can't even begin to think about when it's at its maximum altitude. So on our last test flight, well, we had to cut that one down early because of the wind would have blown it into the Atlantic Ocean. But the one prior to that, we reached 98,000 feet, and then we could tell that the balloon had burst, and we started descending.
Awesome.
I also want to find out too for the audience when your YouTube broadcast will start, at what time that's going to start.
Yeah, so we are going to start that by 3:15 at the latest. Even when the payload is on the ground, like once we boot up all our systems, the cameras are operating. And so there's no reason why we can't start broadcasting that. Now, the payload is stationary. It might actually be laying on its side at that point in time, depending on how windy it is. We may, to protect it, lay it down until we're ready to launch. But the cameras are already active, and there's no reason why we can't broadcast that. So by 3:15, we will be broadcasting for sure.
Perfect.
Okay.
Our planned ideal launch time right now, if perfect winds and perfect weather conditions, would be 3:30 in the afternoon.
Awesome. So any final thoughts, or Chris, that you want to mention, or before we sign off?
Nope, but feel free to visit our Facebook or our webpage. If you have any questions, reach out to us. More than happy to answer your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the program tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, wishing everybody good luck for sure. So that's our show then for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Special thanks to Chris for joining us this evening. It's looking forward to joining all of you out there next week. Florenceville, Bristol, we're here. Next week, we are broadcasting live from Florenceville, where the Eclipse project is taking place. So we'll be talking more about what to expect, and looking forward to your comments on where you'll be enjoying the event. Also maybe talking to a special guest next week, which I'll a little bit later. And special thanks, of course, goes out to Rosanna once again for her fabulous fun facts. Thank you, Rosanna, and to all of you who share the program for us, including Trudy, who shares it to about 100 places or so. Thank you all. Remember too, we do love getting your photos, so send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to share them on our next broadcast, and you'll be entered in to get this prize next week. So get your
Photo's
photos in.
already in.
Okay, I know. No, I saw it.
It's a selfie, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. A special thanks again to our friends at Rogers for joining us again this evening as well. So until next week, everybody, wishing you all clear skies, especially on that one day coming up. As we like to say, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes pointed up. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and have a great
Happy
week.
Easter.
Happy Easter. And we'll sign off with this, maybe. There we go.